welcome back to Ping Pong Flicks. My name is Chris Wong. What a day today. The last 12 hours, it's been crazy amount of DC Extended Universe news. Lots of stuff coming out and lots of stuff debunked coming out. I mean, it has been horrendous. It was a huge conundrum. I cannot believe my eyes. Get off of Twitter, people were saying, because it's been going nuts. And if you haven't seen or you haven't heard what is going on Twitter, there has been a lot of those Batman things coming out, especially after the Joker Origins news that we had yesterday. On the follow-up to that, we have Matt Reeves' interview came out that said that the Batman is not part of the DC Extended Universe. It's his own standalone film. And then people are speculating if Ben Affleck was still around. That hasn't even gone on the air yet. Then all of a sudden you hear news of Harley Quinn and Joker film now taking over what used to be Gotham City Sirens, and David Ayer is not coming back. It's from the people who make Crazy Stupid Love is making a weird, like a cinematic Mad Love version of Harley Quinn and Joker. And then all of a sudden, the same news from the Hollywood Reporter, it's saying that Ben Affleck is not coming as Batman. They're hiring somebody else as Batman. And you can tell by now that everybody online was going nuts. It was going crazy. Everybody's running that story from all different sites, BatmanNews.com, Superhero Film, Comic Book Resources, whatever. Heroic Hollywood, they're going all after it. And then Justice League Dark script is being rewritten. I mean, it was mind-blowing crazy. Then all of a sudden, Batman News says that the Hollywood Reporter took down that line about Ben Affleck not being Batman. And then some other site, I forgot who, started saying that David Ayer is still directing Gotham City Sirens, and that is different from Harley Quinn and Joker film. I mean, I just don't know what to think anymore. It's confusing as heck, and I think within either tomorrow or by the time to review this today, Jeff Johns, John Berg, or someone's going to have to come down and clarify. But from right now, at this point in time, Ben Affleck is still Batman, Harley Quinn and Joker is his own entity, Gotham City Sirens is his own film, and David Ayer is still directing that. So take what you will from all the craziness that happens today. But I want to take from this a little bit of what's happened today and not go too much into it, but I mean, I want to talk a little bit about before all this transpired, and we're talking about Joker being in a non-DC Extended Universe standalone film. Now, a lot of people were on the fence on it, including myself, saying good and bad things about it, but I've come to terms with it because a lot of fans are out there, including Robert Garcia, who's like the mayor of Florida, was excited about this news because this means Multiverse could actually happen. Now, if you don't know Multiverse is a DC universe type of deal. It's about these multiple Earths, multiple universes within happening in the same comic book line. It's in their way to explain that everything you've read from then till now actually is canon, actually existed, just not in conjunction with each other, or it could be in conjunction with each other, it could be parallel from each other, parallel universes, multiverses, all that, and then some. Elseworlds, everything, including and in between. Now, a lot of people are saying that because of this Joker Origins, this is what the multiverse is. This is the beginning of the multiverse, letting directors and artists and creators make their own DC film without having to think about how it connects to one or the other, how it connects to the overarching story, which is the DC Extended Universe, which started off at Man of Steel. And then when the news happened that the Batman is not part of the DCEU and it's its own standalone trilogy, people are going up in arms like, oh no, what's going to happen? But a lot of positive thinkers are actually coming on board and say, this is a great thing. This is a multiverse level, right? This is a multiverse. If they wanted to make another Batman just so Matt Reeves could tell the story he wants without studio interference, without having to worry about the overarching story, then he can go ahead and do that because it's not part of the DC Extended Universe. And then some other people will come on in mind and jump on in and says, well, when he said it's not part of DCEU, it's a standalone film like Man of Steel, like Wonder Woman. But you would have to argue that Man of Steel actually started the DCEU. And yeah, maybe Wonder Woman is out of it. It's before Man of Steel in a sense. But, well, I guess there's Bruce Wayne in it, at least in mentioning of Bruce Wayne, so it's still part of the DCEU. But if Matt Reeves, the Batman, is like an origins version of the Batman, so it happens before Man of Steel, you can kind of say, I guess it's before the DCEU in a way. So it depends on how they mean what they word. It's almost like the Spider-Man thing, where how Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige were kind of debating on what that really means. They were kind of going back and forth of if Spider-Man and Venom existed in the same universe but not existed within each other, it's within the properties of within Disney and Sony. Blah! You know, it's totally nuts and crazy, and it's all because of how they word it. But I want to take that little part about DCEU and the multiverse. If the multiverse were to come true, that is great. That is fantastic. But that could also be extremely confusing towards the general audience. Now, a lot of people will say, well, they're going to have to learn. They're going to probably know, they're smart enough to know that this happens, this happens, this happens. Absolutely, I'm sure they can probably figure it out. But I've never seen something like this happen in the movie world. Yes, you have Rogue One. It takes place before Star Wars New Hope, but it's still within that same universe. There is no other version of Darth Vader. It's the same Darth Vader. You look at Spider-Man. Yes, they had different interpretations of Spider-Man. He had different interpretations of Batman. But it's not like we've ever had, all of a sudden we had Christian Bale, then we had Ben Affleck's Batman, then all of a sudden the next movie you had Christian Bale as Batman again. That has never happened. You know, so if this is true, if this is a multiverse and they're still going to go along the lines with the Ben Affleck Batman in the DC Extended Universe, if they're going to go with a different Batman that is in the Joker Origins or in whatever Matt Reeves is putting out, if that's a different Batman altogether also, it'll be weird to see that Matt Reeves Batman, whoever it be, maybe Armie Hammer or whoever it would be, and then all of a sudden Ben Affleck Batman again. That is the confusion. Not the audience can take it if one change takes place and it's permanent until another change, which has nothing to do with the change before. But it's going to be weird getting that back. I mean, how would you like it if you've seen Tom Holland's Spider-Man and all of a sudden Andrew Garfield shows up and all of a sudden Tobey Maguire shows up? I'd be confused as well. So I think it will be confusing for the mass audience, for the general audience who don't know multiverse, who don't know what we're talking about. Unless the multiverse, all this solo films, all these spin-off films, all these stand-alone films that are not part of DCEU happens after Flashpoint. And if indeed they are truly going for a multiverse level type of storyline and it comes after Flashpoint, I could totally see it happening. Flashpoint would be the one to tell everyone, to tell a general audience, to show that there are multiple parallel universes. Maybe you'll see shattered glass in the sky and you see every piece of glass, every piece of is mirroring some type of universe. You'll see Brandon Routh Superman, you'll see Christopher Reeve Superman. Just shots of that to acknowledge that every single interpretation of Superman was real. Every interpretation of Batman is canon. Every interpretation of Wonder Woman actually happened. They could actually do that in a single movie. And you're thinking, this is not the Flashpoint that I know. When has a studio ever made something that is exactly like its comic book or graphic novel appearance? I mean, aside from 300, aside from Watchmen, almost every other comic book movie does not take the same exact story material from the comics. They take interpretations of it, they take parts of it, and they homage to certain parts of it. They have Easter eggs to certain parts of it, but the overarching story is that something has to do with Flashpoint. Flashpoint is at a time where something happens and a timeline is changed or alternate timelines have to be produced, and in this case, maybe Flash will deal with multiverse type stuff in order to bring it out to the general public, to tell the story of Multiverse, in order for you to understand from everything on else could be an Elseworld story or could be part of DC Extended Universe, and they all part is sharing the same vision of DC films but not in the same universe, and this is the DC Films Multiverse. That would be extremely cool, actually. That would be a type of movie cinematic storytelling that has never done before and is totally different from what Marvel is doing. So I get why they're going to do it, and I would understand if they're going to do it this round. It totally changes up the game. It frees up the director's creative vision. You don't need Jeff Johns. I mean, Jeff Johns could oversee everything and make sure the characters in the films are kind of what the characters are in the comics, or even have something that will culminate to something later on, probably Infinite Crisis, if you will. But I like that. It ties up freedom, the director's freedom to make whatever they want. It gives a lot more stories than we've ever seen in the cinematic universe, able to capture Elseworlds type stuff into the universe, and we can see different interpretations of it. We can see different actors and actresses playing these different roles. It is quite amazing what their level of doing. And if we are to say that they've already been doing it, if Christian Bale, Brandon Routh, and all these are part of the actually canon, I think we've already started the multiverse in a sense. And then we could add to it more. It's one of their ways to continue DC Extended Universe, whatever vision that Zack Snyder had, continue with that. But if other people want to see other films in a way that directors want to see it, like Matt Reeves want to see a Batman a certain way, this is the way to do it. And I think I'm all for it, actually. If anything positive can come out from today, is that they're making a ton of DC Extended Universe films, or DC films in general, and there's a possibility that the multiverse exists within this world. Okay, within this universe of our fandom right now, multiverse exists. Alright guys, thank you so much for subscribing, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.